Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Chelsea, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet the puff stitch. This is a pretty simple stitch. If you're an advanced beginner or a beginner ready to start working on some advanced stitches, this is a good one. If you know how to half double crochet, we are just going to be using those same skills and just working on repeating one of the steps a few times, and that's all you really need to know. So go ahead and grab your crochet hook and your yarn, and we'll go ahead and get started. When you are working a puff stitch, most often you are going to work it into a row of stitches. Like, it will not be usually the first row of your project. This is because it'll kind of be wonky if it is, and sometimes it'll take multiple rows of puff stitches to kind of even it out. So just to help you and so that way you can see it a little bit better, I have started with a short row of half double crochet stitches. Now, most often if you're doing a row of just puff stitches, you are going to want an even number of stitches in the previous row, just to make it an easier way to create this puff stitch. It'll help it really level out and won't curl. So I'm going to go ahead and chain one and flip. I'm going to turn my work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working in this first stitch. So to create a puff stitch, you're actually going to be doing a variation of a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook into that first stitch, just like I would for a half double crochet. Yarn over and pull up. Now I'm going to pull up so that way these are even. And I'm going to repeat that step again. So yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up again. And you will see, so right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on the hook. You will always want to check the pattern notes to see how many loops you are going to want on the hook before you yarn over and pull through to complete the stitch. Depending on the pattern and what the goal is, some pattern designers will want you to have 5. Some will have you complete this step again. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, and now you have 7 loops on the hook. You can do it again, yarn over, insert, yarn over, and pull through. This is 9, and this is the one how many loops I usually do, because you can actually see the puff a little better. So we're going to go ahead and just finish up our stitch right now. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all the loops, and you'll see it's nice and puffy. Puff stitch makes sense. So then we're going to chain 1, and what is easiest is if you have your first stitch that you worked into, you skip that next stitch, since the chain 1 most often will count as a stitch. Always check your pattern to see if it does or not though. So that's our first one. I'm going to go ahead and continue working with 9 loops on the hook, and I will go ahead and show you a few more times how to create this puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up. Remember, you're going to want to pull so it's all even. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to repeat this 2 more times for a total of 4 times. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to yarn over one final time and pull through all the loops on the hook. Chain 1 to close it all up, and we finished our second puff stitch. So I'll show you one final time, and remember, we're just going to be repeating this yarn over insert, yarn over, and pull up. We're repeating that step a total of 4 times to get to 9 loops on the hook. Anytime you work with a pattern, it'll tell you how many times to complete that step. So we're going to do it 3 more times. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yarn over and pull all the way through and chain 1. So those are our puff stitch. That's how you complete the puff stitch. Now, just a couple of tips when you are completing these stitches. I do recommend, I usually have a very tight tension when it comes to the puff stitch. The easiest way for me to make sure I have a loose enough tension is to pull it up and make sure it's even at the top, just like that. And then I know exactly how tall to make the rest of the loops. I've learned that through a lot of trial and error. A lot of times people will struggle with having their loops way too tight, which makes it really difficult to then complete the puff stitch correctly. If your goal is to have rows of puff stitches on top of one another, I highly recommend that you start the beginning of your row with either a half double crochet or a double crochet, just because this will allow your sides to be much more even, and it will just keep your puff stitches from kind of getting all crazy and curling and everything. So I'm starting this row with a half double crochet. I kind of went back and I wanted to show you guys what it would look like if we were going to create puff stitch rows. So I've started it with a half double crochet, and in the chain 1, and you could go in the chain space, but right now I'm going to go in the actual chain 1 and create my puff stitch. And then chain 1, and then I'm going to skip this next stitch and go right back, continue to puff stitch in that next chain 1. And this will just allow me to continue to use the puff stitch to create rows. And I will say that with the puff stitch, it can be very helpful if you block your work, especially if you're using something like cotton, which really I have found it tends to curl a little more, unless you're working in like very loosely. But even then, I've found that it does tend to curl a little more. So blocking can be super helpful, either wet blocking or even just damp blocking, either way. So at the end of a row, after I've chained 1, I'm going to make sure I skip 1 stitch, and in the half double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to go ahead and half double crochet to end my row. And remember, this is just for if I'm going to be doing rows of puff stitches like this, but I wanted to give you guys that as an example, since that's not how we started. I was just kind of showing you how to do the puff stitch. So I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please like it and subscribe, and let me know what tutorials you guys want to see below down in the comments. Have a great week, guys.